Hello there. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. My name is James. I'm going to be your podcaster. Guys, we tried this once before. Technical difficulties did not allow us to do it. Modern technology is great as long as it works. But anyways, without further ado, I have a guy who, boy, I ran in the same circles. We know the same people. We were on the same shows. We went to the same sports shows. We fished the same waters. We ran into each other just a couple of times over the course of probably a decade. Don't know how that happened. But anyways, I have none other than Kenneth Malley from Husker Outdoors. How are you doing tonight, Ken? Let's pray this works.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed, Jay. I'm doing well tonight.
That's great. That's great. Man, I'm going to name off a few of the waters that Ken and I have in common. Shabbat Lake, Lake Braidwood, LaSalle Lake, Heideke Lake, Hennepin Hopper Lake, probably Evergreen Lake too, the Kankakee River, the Illinois River, the Rock River, the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
And we could probably name off 5. Delavan Lake.
Yeah. Hey, let's.
Lake Geneva.
Yeah. Geneva, DuPage River. Yeah. We've definitely fished the same waters, that's for sure.
I caught northerns of pike out of the DuPage River when you kept your mouth shut about it.
Yeah.
You caught pike there, but then you kept your mouth shut.
Now.
Yeah, that was before the days of the internet. I was there working. Down around Shorewood, there were some big ones.
Yeah. You get some decent ones in the Des Plaines River, too.
Yes, in the lower reaches, south of Des Plaines, yes.
Yeah.
I also caught some decent
I've seen
smallmouth
them all down because there's a lot of tournaments out of Big Basin.
Really?
Yeah. But I've seen pike all the way down river, all the way down to I-55.
Okay. Interesting. You fish at Heideke Lake a lot, don't you?
I sure do.
Man, Heideke Lake was, what was my big fish spot. I caught, I had several pike. I was talking about pike. I hit several walleyes there, approaching 5 pounds. A lot of, back in the day, a lot of really good hybrid stripers. They kind of became a little bit rare after it was no longer a cooling lake. But some decent smallmouth bass. I mean, and it was nothing to see a 40-inch muskie there.
Yeah, well, they're a lot bigger now.
The muskies are?
So the one thing that the one thing I predicted a while back when I was on with Chauncey's Great Outdoors, and I told him this: the next state record's coming out of that lake.
I would believe it. There are huge schools of shad in that lake. And I mean, I saw these back in the 90s and the early 2000s, In fact, I was there right after 9/11 on 2001. I almost got arrested for getting too close to the buoy line. I didn't think they were serious.
Yeah.
They were.
That time, down Dresden, the charge down on where the Illinois River starts, they had armed guards down there during that time period because they had armed security.
They had armed guards at Heideke too, and I didn't take them seriously. I said, "Oh yeah, you are really." I don't handle those kind of situations very well. I don't think they should be harassing fishermen. And this was 20 some years ago. I was much more feisty back then.
Yeah. So, getting back to the muskie conversation that we were having out at Heideke, in April, the DNR was out there and they actually in the netting that they were doing the sampling in the spring, they actually got one of the muskies that would have been the next state record. So they're there. It's there already.
Four state records in a row.
Beautiful
Shavano Lake. And now they're calling on Heideke to be the next trophy, the greatest trophy potential. That's incredible, man. That's a big. Of course, that's guys. You only really get to fish half the lake. The rest of it is still off limits. I don't understand why. But maybe that's just a good thing. Maybe the fish go out there to spawn. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the ones on the south side, the buoys are no longer there, but it is pretty shallow when it up. So you can actually fish it now, but with the water levels right now where they're at, it's extremely low out there.
Okay. So was it like it used to be, the algae on the boat ramp?
One thing,
it used to be the algae on the boat ramp. Oops, sorry. Man, we're losing Ken again, man. We went for 20 minutes.
And the things that a big concern out there, the water levels.
Is it still really dangerous at the ramp during low water?
Hopefully, just a hiccup.
Yeah, I hope so too. Is it still dangerous out there during low water with the algae on the boat ramp?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I saw a lot of guys.
And the other thing, everybody talk about is the bridge between the north and south ends of the lake. As far as people, being able to get your boat under there. Well, the funny thing is, right now, that's an issue. You can get a walkthrough under there for no problem because the level's so low. That's really not an issue right now. It's really at the launch and actually getting out of the harbor too right now.
Okay. I remember that, man. That bridge can really be an issue. If you're coming by there and it's a calm day, and all of a sudden a big boat wake comes through there, it can smash you right up against the top of the bridge. It's not fun. I've had that happen to me.
You catch a time and you and you can watch because the one thing everybody's got to remember, it's still like, even though it's cooler anymore, it sits up higher than the surrounding land because that's it's cooling like it was designed for that. So when those winds pick up, you got to be extremely careful going back and forth, because if you catch at the wrong time, you get a swell. You basically hit top or potential if you're not. Your wheel, the top board. So it's still dangerous. As far as getting in and through there, but right now with the water, low water levels, it's not an issue getting under. You just got to pay attention to those winds.
Sure. Yeah, guys, be careful of that. It's no fun when you're halfway through there and you start getting slammed up against the top of the bridge. It's happened to me. I kind of knew it was going to happen. I saw the waves coming in. I just could not move fast enough to get out of there, and I didn't want to power up and make my boat come up further in the water. So I just got down as far as I could, so that my head wouldn't get smashed up against the bridge.
Yeah.
And it took all the paint off the top of my trolling motor and my main motor. Fun. But
those are Heideke battle scars.
Yeah, it's a fishing boat, man. It's a fishing boat. It's not. It's
got character now. Got character.
I didn't buy it so I can take beautiful pictures of myself in it, because they never come out that way. So,
yeah,
man, but Heideke Lake, I have so many good memories of that. This was the day before Live Scope, when side finding was just coming out. Because I moved away in 2011, so I did a lot of bank beating with small shad wraps, and you never knew what you're going to catch. You're going to catch a great big hybrid, going to catch a great big walleye, going to catch smallmouth bass, largemouth bass, muskies. Wow.
yep.
Even huge crappies sometimes. I mean, the crappies coming out of that lake that Capcho's putting pictures, some legitimate 15 inchers. I mean, 15-inch crappie in Illinois, Ken. Illinois. You're not talking Mississippi here, That's
that one thing, that lake is really taken off as far as the crappie population and people targeting them more. But yeah, Capcho is definitely got it down to a science right now.
That's just incredible. It makes me wonder if they were always there, if they were just cruising the basins, and then now we can see them with Live Scope, or if this is a new thing. I'll never know the answer, but it's just the way I think, I guess.
Yeah.
Now,
well, I think because there's not really a lot of structure. Yeah, go ahead.
How do you target crappies in that lake?
Basically, you've got cover there, so these are constantly roaming. So you got to rely on your electronics because spend a lot out there. You got to look for drop-offs, humps, saddles, and that's where you got to rely on your electronics because of the fact that it's not like out at Shab where you got fish cribs, you got brush piles, they got plenty of cover, and you know where to fish for them. These schools are roaming all throughout the lake, and that's where you got to find the bait fish, you got to find them. Where from forward facing imaging is a huge part of that now. I'm trying to find those fish.
Okay. So if you had like a Humminbird 360 and a Live Scope, sounds like you'd be on. Now are the walleyes similar there?
Well, the walleyes are still as good, if not better, than at the time when it was a cooling. You can still catch them banging, crankbaits along, the center dikes, the rip wrap, the gravel, flats, the drop offs, and all you see this time you go a handler, you get out of
Boy.
Good.
Yeah, guys, we're having some technical difficulties here.
Throwing out, for mud line or that first or secondary drop from, the rip wrap.
Okay. Yeah, that's how I usually caught walleyes there. I usually caught them on the North Pool, North Shore, over on the east side, about the east half. I would go there and cast size 5 shad wraps, and then if that didn't do anything, I'd get out my trolling rods and put four of them out. One of them I'd run on a board just right up against the shore, and the other 3 would be scattered. And I usually could eke out walleyes there. Also, go ahead.
Yeah. And that's good. If throws wraps electronics, watch it. Set your waypoints. and learn the lake that way, because that's where you're going to see a lot of the contours, the drop-offs, the humps, the saddles that are out there, especially on the north side. It looks featureless because all you're seeing is a big bathtub with riprap all around it, but there's so much more structure out there to fish that, again, trolling the lake really is difficult. Turn it, because that's where your points, and you can basically go.
I think he's talking about walleye trolling. I did a lot of walleye trolling on Heideke over the years. I would troll size 5 shad wraps, and sometimes I would troll spinner rigs with night crawlers on them. You never know what you're going to catch. I actually had a couple times that my board just got buried, with a big old hybrid striper we grab it. Now, Ken, why don't you talk to us about the hybrid stripe? Are there still hybrid stripers in that lake?
Yep, there are.
Okay.
I know why, because I'm like around one thing on hours, water bite fish or the smallmouth for that matter could last a half hour, 40 minutes, and less, and on it's overcast, sunny, sometimes last 2 hours. And watching, I like to watch what the sea doing, because if the sea are focused in the area and basically dive bombing the water, that means there's a ton of bait fish there. And if there's a ton of bait fish, what's lurking there. Especially the hybrids. They're going to be coming up, busting from underneath those schools of bait fish.
Well, I remember when Heideke was a power plant lake, the hybrids were just nuts in that lake. I mean, some of the biggest hybrids I'd ever seen came out of that lake.
Yeah.
But kind of the population kind of leveled off after it was no longer a power plant lake. I mean, has the population come back at all?
It's not like it was back in the old days. You still got some quality fish out there, that's for sure. But again, you don't have current being produced by the plant anymore. You also don't have the warmer water that you had. But the one thing, I tell anybody, watch it for a couple days later, you're going to go out, because pay attention to those winds, focus on those shorelines where the wind's been beating on it for a couple days, because all the bait fish are going to be stacked up in there. And fish first and foremost, and then, should be your number one game plan, hitting those shores where it's been beat on, for a couple days, and go from there, because, we have great, days with smallmouth, and basically just throwing simple as a swim bait.
Yes.
Okay.
I bet that'd be a great little.
The Kitech with an all-terrain tackle jig head. So great for smallmouth, but all hybrids. Even, catch walleye too. Again, the nice thing about Heideke, throwing baits, you just sometimes don't know what you're going to catch.
Oh, yeah. It could be a big striper. It could be a walleye. It could be a large or smallmouth bass.
In the springtime, we caught back in April, we caught 2 muskies. My buddy, the boat, and myself, we caught a 36 and a 37.
Two muskies in the same day.
I've had even muskie come right up to the boat, to the point where I've actually had to do a figure 8. So again, you just don't know what you're going to catch out there.
And one thing I experienced is if the waves are just absolutely crashing into one of those rocky shorelines, you can't keep me off of them.
Yeah. They weren't,
you need to use a little bit bigger
as
bait.
far as length goes, like 36, 37, but the one thing, they were very chunky fish.
Yes. There's a lot of bait in that lake.
No,
think about it.
You got to fish those. Yep, you got to fish those. I know, that's, a lot of people don't like fishing in the wind and off too.
Well, they can stay off the rocky shorelines when there's 3-foot waves crashing into them. I don't care. It's
especially now because you got a shad hat going. And the one thing too, with the plant not producing anymore and them drawing in water from the Illinois River.
Darn it! I wanted to hear that.
What
is the good part about drawing in water from the Illinois River?
Clarity's gotten much better since it's become a natural lake.
Gotten better. Okay.
It's cleared up. It's actually in the springtime. It's extremely clear, which, yeah.
Boy, I'm not used to it.
When it was a power plant, the water clarity's gotten much better since it's become a natural lake. So, good or bad, depending on how you want to look at it, But the lake, there's more weeds now, because if you remember,
there were very few weeds. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure there are.
If you remember back in the day, there was a lot of weed growth on the south shoreline. The natural shoreline there, but we're starting to see weed growth throughout the lake now because of that water clarity.
So on the South Pool, can you fish the entire lake now?
So that's the neat thing about the transition of the lake, that it is changed how you approach it from a power plant to a natural lake now.
Okay.
Because
but can you fish the entire?
Remove that buoy line that was
so
there
they removed
over
the
where
line.
the intakes were at.
Okay.
But again,
on
it does follow though.
Now on the north side, they removed the buoy line. They removed the buoy line on the south side where the plant used to be. Well, guys, I don't think you can hear me.
The buoy line on the South Pool is no longer there, but like I said, no, I can hear you.
Okay, good, great, fantastic, man. So, how is the fishing on the south side where we never were allowed to fish before?
No, here's a you have between the north actors, but again, there's still areas on the South Pool that you can fish. Over the east shoreline is really good as far as that chunk rock and the riprap. You got the gravel, flat that's there, and that's adjacent to deeper water. Because if you remember, if you look at the old maps, the hotspot maps, there was that 60-foot hole.
Yes.
Okay, well, there is no 60-foot hole, but still that area, there's still, deeper water there, 25 to 30 feet of water. And, again, that's another area, that you can fish that's good because you've got that flat, hard bottom that leads to deeper water.
Well, I remember that 60-foot hole, and I remember looking at it on the hotspot map, and
of course you still have the south shoreline too. Ton of big boulders on that south shoreline. Yeah.
I remember there was like a road that went down into that 60-foot hole, but I didn't find half the structure that the hotspot map said was there.
Yeah. There's an axe road. Yeah. There's a porta potty in the center dike, and if you go south of that hard bottom, you can find some rock humps there. Just look for the green
Sure.
porta potty.
You know, another lake that I look forward to fishing every single year was LaSalle. I would be there at midnight the night before it opened. You know, bring a grill and, you know, cook out burgers, and sometimes, you know, they allowed in 180 boats. They open up at 6 o'clock, and sometimes by 6:45 it was closed. Man, they couldn't accommodate any more boats, and they sent probably 100 boats home some years. It was an event. At LaSalle opening was definitely an event. But I hear the bass fishing
kind of
is
similar to what Braidwood is still.
Okay, but LaSalle doesn't have a population of largemouth bass like they used to, does it?
No. You know, there's a fish out there. The bass nowhere near. But one thing now that's really the piece out there is the blue cats. Blue cats are, I mean, that the lake is thick with them. You can, you know, yep.
What about hybrid stripers? I remember catching some really big ones out there trolling.
So what I like, you know, what I like to do. Yeah. Yeah, you can still catch, you know, some decent sized ones out there. The one thing, you know, I'll go out there. I like to go, you know, on St. Patty's Day and fish that lake because I pretty much have it to myself. It's 2 days because it opens up March 15th.
Yeah.
2 days later, hardly anything out there. I'll focus in the morph and I'll switch off the cats. You know, I don't really target fish much at all. Hard when I'm out there. I can't help it because they're so much fun. Because
yeah,
they're you can literally catch one.
I caught blue cats out there sometimes trolling for or through schools of hybrid stripers. Just crazy, you know, like 25 feet down over 40 feet of water. Just the blue cats were just in there, you know, feeding on the same thing the hybrid stripers were. And guys, if you never caught a hybrid striper, man, those fish they are so strong. They're a cross between a white bass and a striped bass, and they're thicker body than a striped bass. You know, striped bass are kind of like torpedoes. Well, these fish are more like, you know, if you took a striped bass and like pulled it this way and doubled its muscle. You know, they're a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun trolling for those things because you want to see a rod just get buried. And, you know, a lot of times, go ahead, man. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to talk. Boy, when you start talking, just please interrupt me. I'll stop talking. But, you know, trolling for hybrid stripers, I would use, usually just size 5 Shad Raps, bright colors. It didn't seem to matter what I used as long as I had a bait out in there and I found the fish first. You know, go over an area that, you know, I've caught fish. I called their pool 1, 2, and 3. In pool 2, between pool 1 and pool 2, there was a big bay. And, you know, just go back and forth in that bay in the deep water, look for the schools of shad. Once you find the schools of shad, you're going to find the hybrid stripers. Just pull your cranks through those schools of shad. And, you know, let you in on a secret that's kind of gross. The best thing to catch hybrid stripers that I found, chicken livers. I hate using chicken livers. I kept them in a cooler that nothing else ever went in. But if I was guiding and I couldn't catch fish trolling or casting, I hated using the chicken livers, but they just plain caught the hybrid stripers. Hey, are you here?
Yeah.
Did you ever use chicken livers there, Ken?
Yep, I'm still here. No, you know what? I've never used chicken livers. I like trolling for them, or in blade baits for them. That's actually a lot of fun.
I would agree with you. That's
watch the bird, watch what the bird doing. They're gonna point me right to where all the big fish are, and ideal water temps that I'm looking for out there is anywhere from 72 to 75 degrees, and watching to see if the plant's producing, and the current areas, and just like a river, in the current scene to your advantage.
Yep. Boy, I tell you, back in the day,
another good fish, talk about. Another good fish to, talk about out at LaSalle are bluegill.
Bluegills, yes.
Bluegill are excellent there.
Bluegills.
Especially on the E-line. Excellent. Over quality bluegills.
Boy, bluegills, yes. I caught a lot of bluegills in the first pool, all the way at the east end of the first pool. It's kind of a deeper shoreline there. But, if you had 4 rods, probably, 8 feet deep with slip floats on them, man, caught some bluegills that were big enough. Really good eating bluegills, 8-9 inches. I wouldn't keep anything that wasn't that big, And they had brilliant color. I know people like to joke around that, those fish glow in the dark. Guys, if you know how nuclear energy is produced, the cooling water will never come into contact with the rods, because any impurities in the water will instantly precipitate on those rods. And then you just lost. I don't know how much the rods cost, but I'm sure they're incredibly expensive. They have to have absolutely pure water. And the water in the lake is used to cool the water that they use to turn into steam. Whew. Enough science for today.
Yeah.
But yeah, LaSalle back in the day, man, you could go there and catch 100 decent sized bass in 3 hours. That's why guys sat there for 6 hours and got up or took off from their houses at 10 o'clock at night for a 6 o'clock opener. It was worth it, to catch
just in line
100 bass between 12 and 18 inches long. Jeez. You remember those days, I'm sure you do.
Literally one after another.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I wanted to learn,
it didn't put you through.
Yes, when I wanted to learn how to fish jigs, I went to LaSalle around the opener and bass jigs. Man.
Yeah.
Yes. I learned how to use chatterbaits there, bass jigs, all kinds of different things. And you definitely didn't want to throw crankbait.
What's also good for,
Well, I wanted to hear that.
Yeah,
say that again.
Definitely.
Ken, say that again. I want to hear that.
Square bells in the riprap. Yep. I throw when I'm cranking that riprap, especially skinny water, I'm using square bills because they have a tendency of not digging into the rocks, and they also ricochet off of them, and that's what triggers strikes. Or, throw a football jig.
Yes.
There we go. There we go.
Football jigs.
That's some
square bills.
Other, big, bait into that rip. Yes. Yep.
Boy, I tell you, I'm currently putting an article together about targeting riprap shorelines. I will be talking to you about that because you fished a lot of this. You have fished a lot of the same riprap shorelines I used to fish. So, yeah. Definitely want to get some quotes from you for that article.
It's an art. Yeah.
It is. And Oh, here's a question I wanted to ask you the last time we talked. What do you look for in a riprap shoreline that separates one riprap shoreline from other riprap shorelines? It would make you want to hit that shoreline first.
That's a real good question. One thing that I talked about earlier, I'm going to fish, those shorelines where the wind, for, a couple of personal thing, I think. But the one that you want is use your electronics, especially side imaging, and you want to look for areas where the rock extend out a little further from the mud line or that first drop. So that's, where electronics really play a key factor in it, because you want to look for those spot on spot. If that makes any sense. Guys talk about that, because again, everything the map you want to that extend out more, or drop off the deeper water versus where it's more of a flat area, which is good at times for when fish are up there feeding. But a lot of times, when they pull back, they're on that first drop, or even possibly that second drop, or right hanging along that mud line.
Yes, man, you hit all the points there. Yeah, guys, if you couldn't hear him, he said you want first of all, wind-blown riprap, but also you want a riprap shoreline that extends down into a little deeper water, where the rocks don't stop 3 feet into the water, where they go down to 20, 25 feet. Irregularities, all kinds of stuff can hold fish on a riprap shoreline. If you're looking for a spot on the spot, look for irregularities. Definitely. One of the best places to fish on Shabana Lake, and I hear to this day it's still true, is the riprap shoreline. They have a half-mile long dam face that's riprap. And my days of guiding, I pulled thousands of bass off it. And sometimes it was the same bass. There was a smallmouth bass that had a broken back. We named it Chuck. We caught it so many times, That thing, Chuck had issues.
Yeah. Yeah, that's still a real good play. That earthen dam at Shab is because you do that rip, so it's the deeper end. Depending levels, you got the south of that lake, so you current too. So
yes,
you've got a little bit of everything there, including that Southeast Bay had a lot of weed growth too.
Southeast Bay, sometimes we couldn't catch bass in there when the muskies moved in. Yeah, I could pretty much tell, my buddies would call me up and fish muskies. Where are you seeing them? Like, well, I don't see muskies. I don't even look for them, but I know we haven't been catching bass in the Southeast Bay recently. I think also sometimes muskies will cruise up and down that dam face. That would make me mad. I was trying to catch bass there.
Yeah.
And I
or I'd like to throw a Lindy rig, along there for walleye, and I've actually caught muskie doing that. Just on a simple leech or a crawler, working it with a simple Lindy rig, and I've gotten muskie on that.
That's impressive. In the springtime, I can see that happening. Definitely. In the summertime, throwing a Lindy rig there with a leech on it, you're probably going to catch a 10-pound cat. And in Shabana, it's going to be a channel cat rather than a blue cat.
Yeah.
But still, if you're guiding, geez.
Yeah.
And one of your customers hooks into a big old catfish, it's a good day. They don't care.
Yeah, there ain't nothing wrong. Yeah, there ain't nothing wrong with that, because you know what? That's what they're paying for. They want to fish.
They want to catch fish. You got to put fish.
Keep them on the fish. It doesn't necessarily always mean or what kind they are. Yep.
Yeah, man, Chavano was definitely my favorite lake, probably because I started fishing it back in 1985. You know, and I was there for many of the habitat projects. You know, I put a lot of those crappie habitats I put in there. Or I didn't put them in there myself. Absolutely not. It was the collaborative efforts of about 60 people, every one of those projects. And they had a group of rabid fans that just went out there and improved the lake every single year. And it wasn't just one project. We'd have Rock Fest. We'd have, Tree Fest. We were always doing something there. And that's why the lake was good fishing for so many. And also we would raise money to put in the additional walleyes. And we made sure, they cost about $1.50 a piece, but we would buy walleyes between 10 and 15 inches long. It was expensive, but we raised money all year long for that. And we had good fish in there,
Yeah, I did a number of years, attended Rockfest.
Rockfest, yeah.
So, the nice thing about that was, adding, structure to the lake, but also you got the GPS coordinates where the new rock piles went in at. So first thing when, ice out, you're hitting that area.
Boy, in the late 90s, there were times when I would sit on one of those
just to participate.
Exactly. Man, the rock piles that went on the old roadbed in the late 90s, I would guide there, and sometimes I'd come out in the morning and just park myself between two rock piles. And I could sit there all day long. The bass would move out, then the bluegills would move in. The bluegills would move out because the walleyes moved in. The walleyes moved out because the catfish moved in. It was all day long. Their fish were just coming in, cruising up and down those rock piles. We even caught a couple of muskies early on in the springtime with leeches, like you said, just there. I certainly wasn't fishing for muskies with leeches. Hey, we do have a. We do have a.
You are.
Yeah, we have a comment from a user. He just came on and said, "Jay, thank you. I appreciate you guys coming on here and commenting, guys. If you're going to comment, I forgot to say this at the beginning of the show. Please tell me who you are. I really want to know who I'm talking to. Facebook just says Facebook user, and that's okay. I love it when you guys come on. I love it when you engage with a podcast. It's really a lot of fun. We tried to do this last week, me and Ken. We had quite a few. Oh, okay. It was actually Clint McClinton from I do not know how to pronounce it, Wissahickon Creek Anglers. That's out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Thank you very much, Clint. Appreciate you. He said the Facebook Live guy from Wissahickon Creek Anglers salutes you. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate everybody who watches this show. And also, man, Ken, I appreciate you coming on and putting up with the technical difficulties we seem to have here. We have a little bit of lag. I know he heard me, and it's just going to take him a minute to.
Technical network. Yeah.
I appreciate the heck out of you, Ken, for putting up with these technical difficulties. I am going to get fiber optic line brought to my house, I think this Saturday. Then at least my side won't be bad. Better not after how much I'm paying for that thing.
Yeah.
But that's an exciting thing happening here, folks. But Ken, okay, I hope we can hear you through this. But do you have what you'd like to do? We're just waiting through the lag, folks. I'm not inviting dead air on my podcast, but
yep. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't catch that last one.
Okay. It's 35 after the hour. Do you have any shout outs you'd like to do?
Yeah. I'd like to thank companies that process and all that marketing from actually storms back. It's won an award at ICAST. I also pro staff for Vector Hooks. I've got little tornado trebles that I use on all my crankbaits, jerk baits. I know you can't really see it here, but it's got a really unique twist to it. You're going to definitely put more fish in your boat.
Man, I tell you, those Vector hooks, Vector hooks are freaking smart.
Outdoors. Yeah, absolutely. Great company, and quality product. You're not breaking one of these. Trust me.
No, you're not breaking it. You're not getting
I've tried. I've tried my best to break one of these, and so far I have not been able to do it.
And they're so sharp, they'll even go into a tarpon or a. Down on the coast, we have some really mean fish. Lag makes it frustrating. Don't worry about it, Ken. Just keep talking.
Yeah. I also pro staff for IGO Plastics, great panfish plastics, and I also pro staff for William Worm. Earlier, they hand paint. They can do up you want. And of course, I just want to shout out to all my members of Husker Outdoors. I love everybody. Thanks for participating, in the group. Appreciate y'all.
Well, thank you, Ken, for putting up with the technical difficulties a second time. It's frustrating. I know it is. I'm glad that you stuck it through. Thank you. And I'd like to thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. I certainly do enjoy doing this. It's a labor of love. I love talking fishing. I love spreading good fishing information. And Ken is an encyclopedia of great fishing information. And I love talking old times when I used to fish those areas. I miss Illinois. I hate the taxes. But I miss Illinois.
We all do.
Yeah, the taxes aren't anywhere near as bad down here. But man, I miss the fishing up there. I really do. It's just such a diverse fishing up there. And, a lot of people said, there is no fishing in Illinois. I just let them think that because that just means more of the water for me. And yes, I am selfish that way.
Yeah. Agreed.
But I said I'm selfish that way, but I was always spreading fishing information. I believe there are no secrets. But anyways, thank you very much, Ken. Thank you very much for everybody who tuned into the Let's Talk Fishing podcast despite the technical difficulties. And with that, I'm going to end the podcast. Ken, please stick around. I'd like to talk to you for 2 minutes afterwards. And guys, I know it's only Tuesday, but please make your plans to go fishing. Get out there and have fun this weekend. Even if it's 118 degrees like it is down here, you only get to do this once.